Hello and welcome back to the championship qualifier as Evil Geniuses and FlyQuest face off at a best of 5. FlyQuest had a very convincing Game 1 win. Evil Geniuses selecting blue side, remaining on the same side they were in Game 1. Hope to bounce back here in Game 2.
And if you guys weren't aware, change for this year in playoff format, the loser will always get side selection. It is no longer higher seed, pre-selecting in 1-3-5. So a little bit of a mix-up, but we will see if EG wants to change anything up. The desk was kind of joking about the salty runback, but one of the funny things is how many times we have seen these salty runbacks. The draft just going the exact same throughout playoffs this year, and every time the losing team does a salty runback, they win. That has happened every time so far in playoffs. So
that's true.
So even though it's only a sample size of like 2 or 3, it dictates that.
But it's 2 or 3. But it's 2 or 3 over the like 6 or 8 series we've had so far. Yeah. So like that's like a fairly high rate. And right now, though I don't believe in the same order, it is the same bans so far. The set ban was there. I think Azir was the 3rd ban from EG last time.
Rakan was also banned out.
Right. It was the Rakan ban away from IgNar. And then it was... okay, so they're going to change it with Trundle. So they're going to get rid of a tank killer. And I think a lot of that is, honestly, Kumo is going to be on tank duty every single game, right? It's going to be Ornn or Poppy every single game this series, and Trundle is going to be a good pick into that. Yeah,
you're just going to blind pick Ornn probably if you're going to do this. But this does mean you're going to give over Xayah Rakan unless you are willing to first pick Rakan yourself. But then they can take Xayah, and I always feel like teams get the better out of that if they have the Xayah and you have the Rakan, and it's kind of that separate pairing. So I am expecting it just to be the Ornn first pick right away from EG, and then FlyQuest does have the ability to go Xayah Rakan if they want here as their first 2. Obviously, this will create potentially some mismatches as far as what teams are selecting in the first round, but Aphelios is going to be banned out by FlyQuest. That even further signifies to me that they want Xayah Rakan. They are banning out what they believe would be the response to that, because Turtle was the one playing this last time around. So, interesting. So it's actually Kalista first pick. So they want to probably go close to Taric, and it probably will just be Xayah Rakan.
Yeah, I think they just super value Kalista Taric overall as a squad. You think back to the Game 1 draft, they took Ornn giving over Aphelios because they wanted to play Kalista Taric. This time around, right, FlyQuest are going to get the Rakan. We know what's going to happen there. Zeyzal is just not a big Rakan player. It's not really a contested pick. He's got games on it, like it's actually his 6th most played all-time support across his career, but it's his only top 6 champ with a losing win rate. It's just not a very big, strong pick for him. At the end of the day, it means that this Ornn gets to go to solo. I'm expecting a Poppy to come through here for EG, unless they want to drop him even lower down the tier list, because I don't think a Kumo Aatrox is going to get much done.
It is interesting, because I don't think that Poppy is the best matchup into Ornn, and I also think that Ornn has...
That's true. You go somewhere else on tank.
Has more playmaking in the actual 5v5, so... I don't think they would go to Poppy. I mean, if you want to go to a tank, you can go to like Maokai or something, but it seems like if you've given up the Ornn blind, then you're probably just going to go towards Aatrox, because I feel like Ornn wins almost every tank versus tank matchup. So that is kind of the problem with that, right? Is that then you're just taking the inferior version. But this is interesting, right? So now you've gotten Solo off of a carry. It's not that Solo cannot win lane, but Solo likely will not slam an Aatrox if he is up a bit in farm or whatever over Kumo. Maybe they're saying, hey, that's less of an issue because this is less of that solo carry threat. The big concern here for sure is that you have now Xayah Rakan, you have a really strong 2v2. The desk talked about the fact that they had felt FlyQuest 2v2 was losing early. This could potentially remedy that, and there is still massive playmaking potential for IgNar when he gets out of lane, and going forward in the 5v5. FlyQuest engage is also much stronger compared to last game because you have the guaranteed kind of engage of that Rakan plus the follow-up of the Ornn. So very powerful setups already coming through for FlyQuest.
All right, well, the picks have been locked in, so it's time to send our ESPN audience to a quick commercial break. For those of you watching online, stay tuned.
All right, so it seems like a lot of jungle bans coming through in this second phase of bans. Gragas getting banned out. Pantheon, yes, potentially could go mid, but I don't think that's really a PowerOfEvil type champ. It would more likely be targeted towards Santorin. Lee Sin is available, Olaf is available, Sejuani is available, so there are a number of options there, and Sejuani is fairly strong, I do think, with Trundle already taken off the table. Zoe, notably, is left up here for Jiizuke. That was something that was banned out last time around because LeBlanc was actually phase 1 banned, and then the Zoe was banned in that second phase of ban, so there have been some slight differences here, and I'm interested to see, does EG feel confident going towards something like that Zoe, or do they want to look more towards the split push, more towards that 1-3-1 with the Rise, which was open last game and they didn't go for? It's open once again here. If they wanted to run it back on the Zilean, you can still have that option, and I do think Zilean can function well with champions like Aatrox, but then you are dependent upon Kumo having a strong laning phase to be buffing up someone who is already, you know, at a pretty strong point, because Zilean really is kind of that force multiplier. When you are rezzing and speeding up someone, you want them to already be, you know, potentially really strong on their own.
Sure, well, the Rek'Sai comes through as a partial block onto Lee Sin. A lot of junglers love that as a counter pick to a Lee Sin pick. We know that Svenskeren plays that champion a lot. It's his most played throughout the year. The Gragas he's played all throughout the playoffs, of course, have been banned out, so I am curious what he goes to next up. If you go by pick rate, it's like a Sejuani or something. We'll see if they want an engaged tank. The Zoe comes through, which we kind of expected there. That was a ban dropped off the table. Jiizuke can hopefully have a good game out of this one. But once again, means that PoE gets to see the matchup of jungle and mid lane before making his pick. And the question is now, what does evoGenius play in the jungle position?
Kindred.
That Kindred was left up from last time. It's being hovered, and it is locked in.
Very interesting. So Kindred does get locked in. I've been playing a ton of Kindred lately. It can have some really potent combinations with Taric in particular because of the interactions with your ultimate into the Taric ultimate. So what you can actually do is use that Kindred ultimate first in a team fight, and then assuming Zeyzal has his timing down, you can have it so the Taric ultimate is landing immediately as the Kindred ultimate is finishing and set up fights there. You know, my concern here with this combo that EG are running is that your strongest engage really is throwing in your Taric, which doesn't feel all that reliable. You are either having to then fish for bubbles and picks and things like that with the Zoe, or hoping that your opponents will engage into you. And if you're hoping that your opponents will engage into you and try to fight your way out of that, I think that can be strong for EG, but that requires you to be the one setting the pace of the game. You to be the one who is dominating the neutral objectives and forcing your opponents to then come fight you at them. Whereas FlyQuest, they have a lot of ways to start fights. They can choose all these battles on their own terms, and I think that puts them in a more comfortable position to pick and choose when they will fight, where EG really has to force their opponents only by going to neutrals because they have no good engage.
That's true. Well, hopefully the poke is going to be enough for them. Welcome back to our ESPN viewers. We are getting into the game in just a few moments here. The drafts definitely look interesting, though, right? It's very interesting to me, especially looking at the incredibly high draft priority EG has on Kalista Taric. They have tried very, very hard every single time so far in these drafts to say, no, we really, really want this duo lane. This is what our competitions are going to key off of. This time around, EG do have a lot more damage sources. Last time around, it was a Graves never got out of the mid game. Kalista who kind of stopped at 2 items, and nothing could really die. This time around, Jiizuke's Zoe should look good. Svenskeren's Kindred should look good. You've got an Aatrox with a reasonably good lane, so I'm very curious if they can actually knock some people down with this.
Yeah, you have higher damage in both the solo lanes, right? You know, the same marksman, and I think Graves' Kindred are somewhat comparable. I do think Kindred can have, you know, more consistent damage because of Kindred's range, you know, as they stack up the marks. But yeah, I mean, it's Zilean and Ornn compared to Zoe and Aatrox, right? That's the swap out from last game. So they have a lot of damage potential here, but they have kind of sacrificed a lot of their engage to be able to get that. And this is also, I don't think, you know, such an easy matchup in the jungle for the marksman. And the last time it was about going into this Trundle, as IgNar with the level 1 roam, this is actually pretty crazy. Both teams back off though. It looked like it was a break out of the brawl.
Yeah, that would have been fun if it happened. Ultimately, doesn't do too much. The defensive ward of FlyQuest, you can see on the very edge of your screen right there, that's going to stay up. This time around, we're not seeing the invade of Svenskeren and co do very much. I think they delayed the ward, waited for the sweeper, and then said, okay, they swept. Let's put it down. Let's go have fun. Santorin and Solo going to go ahead and just knock this down without much issue. Solo starting with the Q. Does less damage to red than if he went W, but needs it for the laning, obviously, as Kumo's going to clear this away. Svenskeren's going to get pretty much solo effort on this red. Bang and Zeyzal did not leash that. They really wanted lane control.
Yeah, and It is interesting because when you go for these marksman junglers, if you are in a marksman versus melee matchup, in the jungle, if you can actually take away your opponent's red, you can really run that 1v1 because Rek'Sai without red against Kindred with red, that is very one-sided for the Kindred in the early matchups because of the additional kiting ability that you do have. So that's why I think both of the Graves and the Kindred game, they went sweeper start, they wanted to try to force an invade and potentially even take that away from their opponents, but FlyQuest obviously very willing to defend, even roaming up their bot lane, trying to prevent any potential takeaway there. To make sure that Santorin can still have his own run of the jungle. So a lot of this is going to be kind of down to how Svenskeren is able to play out some of these early levels, because on Kindred, this is my most played champion. This is a champion that I really love, but you are extremely dependent on your ability to duel the opposing jungler oftentimes to actually pick up these marks, because it's very telegraphed where you want to go, and you need to kind of try to get to that 4-mark point. As we can stop that, is Jiizuke going to get ganked to your mid?
They've got a slow, they've got a sleep. Somebody heal picked up for Jiizuke. He's going to use that to run away. I love that play. Walked up for the Spell Thief. I think he was able to pop the cleanse he picked up as well for just some extra move speed after burning his own heal, and just gets right the heck out of there. So a trade of summoners, as now EG look for some plays in the enemy blue. Can't really make it happen though.
Yeah, nicely done. Didn't have to blow his flash there. Just ran upwards towards where his Kindred would be. And Svenskeren getting the very lucky mark spawn here. He went bot side for that scuttle, and it's just 50-50 on which scuttle is going to have that first mark. Getting that always feels so good. And it's also going to mean a 3-buff start, because his bot lane had the full push and was actually starting a potential invade. So Santorin just giving up his blue, running straight towards top. He's going to try to punish Kumo here, but if he can't actually kill Kumo, he's going to be losing his bot side.
E on cooldown. No innate dash left. This is going to be an easy knock, and the flash doesn't get away, which means it's an easy follow through, and it's first blood top lane in tank versus fighter for FlyQuest.
Really well done there from FlyQuest. Kumo needed to play that more defensively. Your team is invading his blue. Where do you think that the Rek'Sai is if he's not on the bot side of the map? He's got to be top. But Kumo had the wave in potentially an awkward spot. Maybe he felt like he needed to try to shove it in. It looked like he was just trying to reset that wave, but unfortunately for him, he flashes from one side of the knockup to the other, still gets hit by that, and is going to go down for an easy first blood, but Svenskeren could actually invade and go for another mark. This one's spawning on those Raptors, and this is why you have to be strong enough to be able to duel, strong enough to have pushing lanes, because you want to be able to fight for these marks, and getting them really does amp up your power massively, and getting to 4 is sometimes the difference between successful team fights or not, because of all the additional range that you get when you complete those first 4 marks.
And you might have done it if mid lane was in a good enough spot, but PowerOfEvil with IgNar roaming had push control, so they couldn't really walk down and play for that Raptor camp. At the end of the day, Jiizuke had to let the wave push in. Zeyzal held it for a second. He's not going to share the XP. He's going to go back down to bot lane, and that is the sort of first offensive mark denied right there. No chance for the pickup. Easily claimed and cleaned out by Santorin. Jiizuke just going to do his best to clear out the mid lane wave as PoE walks back down with early Merc Treads and early defensive purchase to help make sure that lane stays safe. IgNar going to stay as well to shepherd this lane in, and actually can force this to be a freeze. Yeah, which can really punish Jiizuke, as he's going to have to take the slow walk back to lane, and he's going to lose part of this wave when it happens.
Yeah, it's actually so frustrating because you're not playing with TP as Jiizuke. You have to have your base timing there, and when the support actually just gives up some of his time to freeze that out, you know you're going to be falling behind on experience, falling behind on gold as a result of it. So it's always a very frustrating experience, as having that lane frozen against you. But Jiizuke, is playing a champion that, obviously has very safe ranged wave clear, so he will be able to get back to there and push it in without too much worry. It's not going to be like a permanent freeze, because fairly easy to unfreeze that. But solo is 6, Santorin is top, and there is the potential of looking for Kumo here, as they now know that River Brush is clear, and solo could look to start it up with his ultimate if he feels confident.
Now, when does Santorin want to walk around? He knows Kumo's right over there. You can see with Tremor Sense as well as the actual minions. In the meantime, EG spend time down to the bottom side. This time around, they don't actually have bot lane control. I mean, theoretically, it was pushed in, but Turtle took the recall off that one with that window. Zeyzal stays in lane. Svenskeren easily smites, claims the Drake. 6-7 minutes in, very early up, and now Jiizuke is being attacked. There's 4 near him, has to flash over the wall, knows he has to be respectful of what Santorin could have done to him.
This was really well done, though, from EG. Again, this is one of those situations where when your jungler has bot side control, you have to give up that control on the top side. So Kumo this time played it safe, And Turtle will give away out there. Oh, Turtle actually stole it. Nicely done.
That was very well done, and knock up on a Zeyzal as well. Not going to mean too much though. IgNar's going to go back to safety, but now Santorin going to flash for the play. Oh, good flash away from Svenskeren. Gets away from Shockwave. Zeyzal not rooted either. It's going to be a trade of summoners and no kills.
Yeah, very back and forth fight there. No kills on either side, but they do get a couple flashes off of Svenskeren and Zeyzal for the flash of IgNar and Santorin. So as you say, trade of flashes. Jiizuke also earlier in that play did have the flash, so still slightly in the favor, I would say, of FlyQuest. But really, anytime Svenskeren is looking for these plays on the bot side, Kumo has to be willing to just sit back and give stuff up on the top side. You know, that is really what playing weak side means. It is kind of the give and take of the map. You know, your jungler can only be so many places, and so can theirs. So if you know that their jungler is not on the bot side of the map, you have to assume that he is top and kind of wait and try to take that farm as safely as possible so that you are just going positive on the play. EG going to be pretty happy about grabbing that first dragon for themselves and starting to stack towards any potential soul. We obviously know that it'll either be Infernal or Mountain Soul. Now that the first has been Ocean, second is going to be that Air Dragon.
Yep, and right now we're just having the junglers kind of trade farm back and forth here as well, as there's an entire set of camps up on the western side of each jungle, and it's just going to be power clears for both these. Level 6 should be coming pretty soon. Shouldn't be too far away. As Svenskeren just hits it, Santorin might get it off red plus Krugs, and in fact just gets it off the red buff itself, so easy enough right there. Blue now being started. We'll see if that gets handed off to Jiizuke as Kumo and Solo keep fighting back and forth. We'll point out that Kumo is up in farm with even more minions to kill, and that's even after getting killed once in the top lane. So, gotta say this lane is going a lot better than Game 1's lane, and that is just with sort of the matchup changing around. You do expect Aatrox to be somewhat favored in the early game overall, but ultimately what's gonna happen meaningfully down the line is team fighting.
Yep. Yeah, and that's where Ornn can be really, really strong. But credit to Kumo, you know, he hasn't really been getting any of the help from his jungler, whereas Santorin has spent a fair bit of the early game on the top side. So I do think overall EG can be pretty happy with the early stages because you have Kumo in a reasonable spot, Svenskeren, you just kind of farm to 6 alongside Santorin, and Santorin is the jungler on this Rek'Sai, especially because he's playing Hail of Blades that is way more potent in those early levels, and you really do have to worry about that. This is also interesting as we're going to have an engage on the bot side here.
Lot of damage. The Turtle forces the early ult, but Bane's getting away from what the roots would be. They're going to keep stacking up those feathers as well as the spears. They both get pulled back by their respective E's, and it's going to be a pretty good trade in favor of FlyQuest, but Turtle is out of mana.
Yeah, FlyQuest do expend the ultimate, though. That is kind of the one big thing there, whereas, you know, Bangstal has both his summoners and has not had to use his ultimate, so potentially could look for a repeat on Turtle before his ult comes back up. You know, when Zeyzal hits 6, you could throw him in as Bang and try to look to combo down Turtle. Also worth noting, you know, Svenskeren is actually going Blood Razor here. It's not Warrior, as IgNar will be pushed out here. And Warrior is kind of the more standard, I would say, in competitive play. People often are just going Warrior, Black Cleaver, looking towards CDR, you know, a little bit of tankiness to have those ultimates up more frequently. The on-hit builds are very, very powerful in extended team fights, though, especially against frontliners like the Ornn. You can do things like Blood Razor into Blade of the Rune King if you really want to kind of amp up that frontline killing. And we can see PoE up on this top side again. They're trying to threaten Kumo, really putting a lot of emphasis on Solo.
There's the first knockup. Good flash gets away from Shockwave. That's a stun towards Solo. He's going to have to walk away from this one. Nicely done by Kumo. Pretty much outplays the 2v1 dive. Has to burn flash, but worth it.
Great job by Kumo. Again, being pressured here. This is, you know, 3 so ganks he's tanked. He has PowerOfEvil coming up there, blowing the ultimate. He's able to survive and stay healthy enough that he can actually collect the wave. So Kumo really is hanging on that top side of the map, and EG have just got to make it worthwhile elsewhere. You know, they have got to kind of pay him back by getting ahead on other parts of the map, and Santorin will be pushed off this Rift Herald. The second dragon is going to spawn in 20, and if EG are going to be able to stack some of these neutral objectives, that's where I was kind of talking about them being successful.
And Zeyzal pushed around a little bit, and they're getting some decent damage down onto him as Jiizuke regroups with the squad. Look for some poke. Nice paddle start, does some damage to IgNar, but he gets a shield back up, and we're still having spears stack up against Rift Herald. Will there be a fight over it as EG are grouped around, but now so are FlyQuest. Here comes the Ornn, here comes the engage. Good smite comes through, and now the re-engage. Zeyzal charges in, cannot find the stun, turns himself invulnerable alongside Bang, but there will not be a fight. Just the Herald picked up, no harm, no foul.
And that is kind of almost, I want to say, both the strength and the weakness showcase there of EG's comp. You know, I talked about how do you get fights when you don't have strong engage? You go to the neutral objective and you force your opponent to come and fight you when you are in a position that you could win that fight. And that's what EG did there. And that's how they got that Rift Herald. But then you saw the weakness in how bad their turn was when they want to force a fight after the Rift Herald has been secured for them. There's not really a lot going in. They actually throw in Zeyzal, they use the Dazzle, but IgNar can just hop back out of there. They don't even force anything, you know, in that retreat. So pretty easy retreat from FlyQuest, and they'll trade Dragon on that bottom side. So it's going to be gold right now for EG. And the potential of later power with that Cloud Dragon and going over to FlyQuest.
All right, here we go. First 2 plates taken. Herald summoned right afterwards. That's going to cash in pretty easily. Should be the turret falling as it gets lower and lower. There's the true damage charge, and there is first turret gold gained. Evil Geniuses able to get the gold right back to equal. They've traded Drakes back and forth. It's 3 Infernos to go till Soul, so it's going to be a while till that shows up. Kumo, oh no, I didn't want to be here in a 1v2, but he's level 9. He's got decent damage. He's being bounced around, but he's got healing. Ignite does ultimately nothing, and you gotta see the power of a reasonably well-laning Aatrox. Takes the 1v2 and forces FlyQuest to walk away.
Yeah, Kumo's playing a great game for being 0-1-0. He's gotten a lot of pressure. He hasn't really gotten much of any help, and he's, you know, hung in there just fine. We could potentially see FlyQuest finish off this turret. They will stay around to do so, and you know, in the meantime, Svenskeren also picked up his second mark on that top side scuttle. So, you know, working his way slowly towards 4. It has been a pretty bloodless game, which is going to make it a lot harder to stack up those marks, but he's farming well, and you know, the team is sitting in a fairly comfortable position. The question is just, can you actually get strong enough where you're going to win all the fights around neutral objectives? Because if you can't go to every neutral objective and say, come and fight me, then you have really little to no agency in this game, because FlyQuest otherwise will just sit and they will farm and they will look for picks, and once they have the numbers, once they have the good angle, they are going to pull the trigger with IgNar, they are going to pull the trigger with at least Ornn ultimates, and you are going to have to fight whether you want to or not as EG.
And the problem is, as we look at EG and look at the scoreboard, they are back to being down 1,700 gold. Like, they tied it when they... Oh, hold on. Okay, IgNar's fine. They tied it up when they got the Herald Slam topside and they knocked down the turret. But FlyQuest had pressure elsewhere. They've actually claimed 2 to 3 turrets topside from Solo's laning lead and the ganks they've had. WildTurtle and IgNar were already winning bottom lane. They finished bot turret themselves without Herald and basically answered all the gold difference there. And so FlyQuest are just overall winning. And that means, okay, EG... It's certainly a gold deficit they can fight back from. This is not the, you know, walk it down and it's over kind of situation just yet, but if FlyQuest are winning every lane and pushing every lane, it's hard to get to the Drake first.
Yeah, and you're kind of dependent upon your opponent's mistakes at that point, right? You are dependent upon them overcommitting on the engage, absorbing the engage with the Kindred and Taric ultimate combo, and then turning around the fight on the backside, right? But it can be very difficult because, you know, if you mistime your ultimates at all or overlap your ultimates, you're probably going to result in a lost team fight. And with Orianna Shockwave plus the engage of that Rakan to set it up, you can sometimes just die instantly before you even have a chance.
And we'll see. Santorin knows that Svenskeren's taking those Raptors right next to him. Ultimately, gets a little bit of gold. I think took 2 of them. And walks away on that one. So, you know, a little bit of something picked up right there. FlyQuest looking at their maybe next play. Solo clears away the top side. Once again, in a duel over there with Kumo as they're battling back and forth. Solo has the level lead. But there's a lot of lifesteal on this Aatrox. He's going to feel really comfortable, so Solo has to walk away and walk back from that one if we wait for levels to come in.
Yep.
Eyes are definitely peeled for this Inferno Break spawning a minute and a half, and that's probably when we see if EG feel comfortable enough to fight.
Yeah, I would expect that to be the case. And really at this point in the game, in Ornn versus Aatrox, it's like Ornn uses his abilities, the trade starts looking good for you, but then after that, there's this long window until your abilities are back up, and you are never going to win out on the auto attack trades. Conqueror stacks up. You know, Aatrox is going to have way more CDR than you and have more rotations of abilities to get through, where the trade becomes more and more in his favor. It's also worth noting that Svenskeren is going that on-hit, full tank-killing build I was talking about. This is going to be Blade of the Rune King here, I think, with the double longswords plus the dagger. That is my assumption. It is possible still he's going a different direction, but IgNar caught out here. He could just be dead.
Oh! That is a lot of damage and the exact kind of thing EG needs. The timing couldn't really be much better. It should allow them to take control over this right-hand side of the map and set up for that Drake. To be there first is so crucial for their team composition. Almost get to sleep on PowerOfEvil, but they still throw in the Taric. That is a stun, that is a cleanse down, but now Bang is on the wrong side of this fight. Flash away from Shockwave. Double knockup, making another one for Solo as PowerOfEvil claims that kill onto Bang. Kalista could not get away from that one. Zeyzal in a duel with WildTurtle, but how do you get away from the Xayah? Almost finds the root. Ulti gonna be burned. Solo has to flash away from the wall. Jiizuke has to watch out, flash away from PoE as now Svenskeren's one to run away. Look at the chunk. No time to flash, no time to ulti. He's drowsy. Oh, in comes Santorin. Can't get the kill though. Has to walk away from the turret. IgNar can't get it either. Finally, PoE gets on the scoreboard. FlyQuest end up getting all the kills. It's a 4-for-0 team fight.
I don't know what EG is thinking trying to force that dive. They had the pick. They just need to set up vision and go for the dragon. Instead, they're trying to force these dives, but their engage and follow-up is going to be terrible. You know, you're throwing in Zeyzal past the tier 1 towards the tier 2. Who's supposed to be there to actually kill the guy after you knock him up? I just don't really understand the thinking here from EG, and you know, they are I don't know if they understand what they're supposed to do either based off that. Like, that just looked terrible to me.
Well, it's going to be FlyQuest saying, hey, it looked pretty good for us right now. It's almost a 4,000 gold lead for them. It's not much different from game 1 anymore.
So this was a great pick on IgNar, and yes, it's too far away from the dragon to just guarantee the dragon kill, but then you just set up full vision, you go over there, you fish with Zoe poke. Instead, they try to pull off this dive. And they're diving past. Look where Svenskeren is, look where Jiizuke is, how far away they are from PowerOfEvil. That is like a full screen away. How are Svenskeren and Jiizuke supposed to follow up on that engage on PowerOfEvil, who still had his flash, by the way, and had people coming to help him, and had his tier 1 and his tier 2 tower defending him. So that is how far overextended it felt like Bang and Zeyzal were there. I don't know if Bang just, you know, pulled the trigger and threw out the ultimate and said, all right, let's go, or if that's Zeyzal calling for that. But either way, clearly not on the same page. And then you see Svenskeren getting burst down by PoE, you know, not able to ultimate in time. I think he felt like he wouldn't die to a QW, that it would require an ult that he could react to. But he was wrong, and FlyQuest coming out way ahead in what should have been an EG Dragon, and what should have been EG moving towards a potential win condition where you have these dragons stacking up and you can force your opponent to come to you because you're threatening soul, and they're just not at that point right now. They're 3 dragons away.
Well, Solo gets a little bit of a dash, gets away from Jiizuke's paddle star, but ultimately it's still FlyQuest feeling real comfortable. Second Drake picked up. They're not going to be on Soul just yet because EG did get that first Drake. It's going to remove that condition for a while. Kumo's side lane push gets a little bit of something done. A little bit more gold picked up, and, you know, to be fair, the gold difference is back to only 2,000. There wasn't all that much grabbed by FlyQuest after that prior team fight because of how low they were. So this still feels like it's within grasp. This still feels like it can be done. It's going to be tough, don't get me wrong, but EG are close enough here into this game. Blue buff grabbed, and we'll see what they can play for next. The Baron's up at 8 seconds. That's a part of the map that maybe EG can play for. And, you know, keep in mind, Kalista plus anything is going to be really, really good at pushing down Barons. We're going to have Blade of the Ruin King come in second for Svenskeren. So the ability to sort of boss rush is definitely there for EG.
It is absolutely a surmountable lead. They can win this game. I just have more concerns about how kind of out of sorts they have looked at times in game 1 and game 2, because it feels like it's been a long time since we have seen that sort of miscommunication. That feels like that was, you know, an EG from weeks, you know, 1 to 4 of Spring Split, where we had interviews of them talking about, we're just on a different page. We're not always agreed on what we're trying to get done, and, you know, sometimes the calls are split, and that's kind of what it looks like we were watching when you see that mid lane dive and when you see that fight on the bottom side in game 1. So, you know, that is my concern, because I do think that EG needs to be on form to take down FlyQuest, who is, you know, a tougher version of the one that they beat last time. Right,
and what's interesting is when it was EG's miscommunications in the first half of the split, it was, well, Jiizuke is going forward by himself, and the rest of the squad wants to play more defensively. This time it was the rest of the squad, well, okay, the bot lane specifically, going way too hard, and Jiizuke not being able to follow up onto that one. So it's almost the other half going a bit too far. And so, yes, they need to clean things up. Yes, it feels like EG can win, but they've got to play a bit better. But we'll see if they can do it again. Winnable, but on the outside looking in. Items still coming through. we have Baron up on the map, and right now, to their chagrin, it's FlyQuest who have ward control. They have the wards down. They own that side of the river without much issue at all.
And it just feels like PoE is in his comfort zone. Both of these games, he's playing scaling team fight mages. He's farming like a beast. He's picking up kills in team fights, and he's not really being pressured kind of to be put outside of his element. We know how insanely good PowerOfEvil is at team fighting. That really, I think, is his wheelhouse and has been for most of his career, is that if you let this guy get farmed, if you let this guy get to the team fight, he's going to win you the game. And it feels like Game 1, that's what happened. Game 2, PowerOfEvil, I think, is right on the edge of getting to that point. You know, he's over 10 CS a minute. He has 3 kills on Orianna. And this is a guy who's going to make you pay for giving him that much gold early on.
Yep. And he's going for a defensive build as well. It's going to be so hard to punish him, right? His first item was Merc Treads. He then got Banshee's Veil second. Like, he's almost unkillable. Like, there's no way Zoe gets in on this one with any realistic chance of success. And he's still going to put out probably decent damage in teamfights because his gold is good. He's going to get another offensive item fairly soon. Looking now at a fight, or the beginnings of one, as we are 15 seconds away from Dragon number 3. Both teams want to fight for it. FlyQuest, though, have control. They've got the control ward down. They're going to drop down what wards they can, but right now just staying around the river. Can EG find their way in is the question. We know their engage tools aren't that strong, but their poke is certainly pretty potent. As they drop down a blast plant, they're going to get rid of one of the wards, and now they've got to walk into that river as Kumo is separated. Not rude of it. Santorin finds the slow, finds the flash knockup. Here comes the charm, the knockup there for IgNar. That's a 1 for 0. Ornn comes out, not going to find the knockup though. EG still, by losing their top laner, going to be hard pressed to find the team fight. Do they get the way in, though, is the question. They missed their top laner. They're not missing a jungler, but no, they call it off. They say, you know what, you got us. You found the flanker, you took him down, you sussed it out. No pickup there. Drake number 3 is grabbed, but FlyQuest a little bit split up. But still, as you're mentioning, no engage tools. They were split up as only 2 versus 4, and there's no fight for EG.
And that's why you have to be ahead as EG, because you have to be the one who gets to start the dragon, who forces your opponents to come into you. Because you see how it looks when they're not, right? They have no real way in. You cannot just hard engage, even if part of FlyQuest is on the dragon and part of them is looking for a flank and part of them is doing this. Because PowerOfEvil just sets the Orianna ball in between EG and where they want to go, and they can't walk through. They don't have the ability for this explosive engage. And so Kumo was forced to kind of try to look for this flank, and now it's going to be EG with a bit of a desperation play here, just trying to utilize that double-bladed Rune King Marksman and rush down Baron, but Santorin is going to be here, and so is the rest of FlyQuest. We'll see if they can finish.
All right, Kumo going to try to build some time, and it's only 4K on the Baron. Keep in mind, like, that is theoretically rushable. Shot in front of 2. Ulti will come down in time to keep him alive. So no kills yet. Santorin could be a target. PoE has to run backwards. Here comes the heal, and there's Kalista over the top. Takes a long time to die, and almost, oh, he gets it, Kumo! That was huge. A great pickup, at least a 1 for 1. That is something on the board, and it's Turtle gone. That is a pretty big kill. The question is, though, does EG have the health bars to fight for the map? And that answer is no.
A nice shutdown there from Kumo, making it work. But again, EG pushed off the objective. It is that even trade, and as you say, the health bars are in the favor of FlyQuest, so they are going to be the ones to try to take away some of their opponent's jungles, to push in these lanes, and they are now getting to that stage of the game where Ornn upgrades are coming through. The Molten Edge upgraded there for Turtle, double Ornn items upgraded long ago, obviously for solo, and he's even going to be able to potentially upgrade Santorin's Black Cleaver. The Death Cap will be coming through here for PowerOfEvil. So, you know, FlyQuest's gold lead is even bigger than it is showing, especially when you consider they have double Infernal Dragon. That is going to be all the additional AD and AP added in too.
Okay. Once again, take a look at the game state. 3,500 gold lead for FlyQuest, the beginnings of a death cap, a stopwatch in the inventory for PowerOfEvil, going to keep them quite a bit safer as well. And yes, those Ornn upgrades you were mentioning, going to be really, really nice. Santorin gets his. They're going to wait on PoE to finish death cap for the more efficient upgrade down the line. I like to see it. I like the foresight there. 2.5 minutes to go until Infernal Soul. FlyQuest already can nearly one-shot their opponents with things like Orianna Shockwave. That gets a lot easier when that third Infernal Drake comes through. Evil Genius's time is running short for when they can find that opening. There's glimmers in each of these fights. Even in the game 1 where they were losing horrifically, there were glimmers of hope. And there still are some in this game, but it's never quite enough to get over and actually win the fight.
Yeah, and it's so tough because FlyQuest is just going to be able to play it slow, is just going to be able to choose their battles, and that means that the team that is behind is rarely going to get a good look. So they're going to this Baron over and over because they know they have got to force FlyQuest to come to them to try to force their hand in some way, and if you don't have engage, it has to be by starting an objective. But when you're this far behind, it is incredibly difficult to finish that objective or to win the fight after. So FlyQuest aren't that threatened even with only 4 members on the top side, so they fully push in bot wave. They deny some of those minions, they get more farm onto solo, and now they can clear out all this vision as Kumo goes down to the bot side to actually answer that wave.
Alrighty, gonna be a pretty clean pickup for him, I gotta say. Huge credit for the kill he got. That was a really nice one. I want to see more of that out of Kumo. If he can find those backline kills, again, as we're mentioning, there are glimmers of hope. There are pieces that can work. There's 4 damage threats on EG. The double Blade of the Rune King is done. Their frontline damage is gonna be there. They can absolutely push down IgNar and Santorin reasonably quickly, so we'll keep our eyes out of this one. Farm's still coming through, but the timer is ticking down. There's only 1 minute till this Drake spawns. Take a look at the ward control. Right now, actually, not even that FlyQuest favor. They've got a couple down, but it's mostly on their side of the jungle, so there is some room for EG to take control. They're the first to push in mid lane. They're ready to walk down to the bottom river yet again. Bot was pushed in, but it's kind of matched equally yet again. We'll see if they can get the wards.
Yeah, I think they'll get the initial wards, and now it's just going to be a question, can you actually hold them? Because we have the resets coming through from FlyQuest. They're going to be back out there on the map, and I do think FlyQuest has really itemized intelligently. PowerOfEvil with the Banshee's Veil, when the only way you're going to probably die is asleep. Having that Banshee's Veil there is really big, and also the Locket coming through from solo means it's going to be a cheaper item completed for this potential soul point, and it's going to absorb any of the burst that would need to come through from EG to actually win a fight. They have to one-shot PowerOfEvil or one-shot WildTurtle to win a fight, and the Locket on solo really does a lot to help deny that.
Yeah, I'm actually a really big fan of building support items if you're the primary tank in these kind of comps. Here comes the flank play. Double knockup goes through for Kumo, burns a stopwatch, and that is IgNar forced away. Big knockup though out of solo. PowerOfEvil forced to the backside as well as Kumo continues to chase down. EG may have found the fight they want. Redemption even keeps him healthy for a little bit longer. But Turtles on the backside. Double knockup into the Taric ult, or the Kindred ult buys some time back again. But here comes the re-engage towards Zeyzal, puts out a shield, has to run away. Solo did a lot of crowd control, and Santorin finally gets that kill. Second one picked up now by WildTurtle, and EG has started well, but they did not have the gold to finalize the kills and simply cannot win these fights. FlyQuest on the chase down. Svenskeren has to run away, hops to safety as best he can, but it's the turtle taking down the dragon. It's animal on animal, and FlyQuest have grabbed the Infernal Soul.
Somebody call PETA turtle on dragon action. We're going to the Baron here.
Natural predator, okay?
Yeah, never mind. But FlyQuest winning out there. It was a good look from EG because Turtle was so separated from his team. The rest of his squad was over by Dragon. He pushed in mid lane, so EG say, all right, we have a 5v4. Let's go. Let's make it happen. But again, the lack of hard engage, the lack of lockdown is such a thorn in their heel in this game. FlyQuest is able to play it so slowly that Turtle walks all the way back over and is kind of just this flanking Xayah, funnily enough, that did work out because he had his ultimate, he had a stopwatch to buy time for the rest of his squad to then kind of rejoin with him, where they could then use their massive gold lead, use their engage, force that fight, take the fight win, end that soul.
Well, the days are getting numbered now for the Evil Geniuses side. They had a decent chance at that team fight. They had some backline access. It wasn't enough to come through in the end, and the game has gotten a lot harder. Infernal Soul is in. Baron's been picked up. That's still on for over 2 minutes, and it's time for FlyQuest to siege. Mid lane under fire. EG lasted longer than in game 1, but it's still going to look like the same result most likely. Zeyzal puts up a shield, takes a heal, Svenskeren chunked to half. And that poke from Jiizuke was a max range paddle star, and it did about 50% of IgNar's health after counting for the shield on top of it. This is looking grim as EG waits to defend, and the buffed up cannon minion slowly but surely chunks down that turret until it's finally sniped off.
Yep, they're just waiting for Solo to push in bot lane. They're not even going to rush it. Now that Solo is there, they push in mid lane, they take that turret, they take the mid lane inhib because they have pressure on multiple sides. So FlyQuest is just checking all the boxes. They're not getting over aggressive. They know that's really the only chance for EG to win, and Svenskeren now.
Over aggressive on that side, has to take a whole bunch of damage and run back away from this one, and it means that is complete control. Kumo's at half, Svenskaren's at 1/3. Good bottom inhibitor. You can take one last reset, one last refresh, and then it's going to look really bad in a second. Double inhibitor down, still a minute left on the Baron buff. It's enough time for FlyQuest to recall, buy items, and come right back in to close the game out.
I don't even know if they need to, though. There's just no threat on EG. What are you going to do? There's supers pushing in 2 waves now. There's the Baron buff minions. They have no engage, so FlyQuest just kind of walks up these minions very slowly. Turtle will be forced to ult there, but Svenskeren probably... Yeah, never mind. He's going to
the same. He's almost in shockwave range. That would kill him if it lands. Almost goes down to Santorin. Q gets a couple of heals. Tries to stay alive. Will do so a little bit, but trade of bolts that probably doesn't really favor EG very much. By the way, PowerOfEvil and Solo are already up at the top side. Another turret's going to fall. It's 8-3 in that regard. Not to count the 4-1 in Drakes, and they're ready to keep going if they want to. They're going to wait, let the wave group up a little bit longer. Santorin's going to shepherd in mid, and here comes the next attempt. That's Banshee's Veil at work. No sleep going to land. Wait for the next cooldown. Bang going to clear the wave. Not too much issue with Rend, but will there even be a team fight that EG could win? They might try. Zeyzal pops the ulti, gets 2 invulnerable. Here comes the attempt to dive. Kumo cannot find the knockup, and it might be time for IgNar to re-engage. First knockup found. Kumo brought backwards. Santorin gets a kill on his Svenskeren, but he's traded back. It's a 4v4. That is at least something for EG. That is at least a kill on the board. First in a while. But the 4v4 can still look really, really comfortable. Poke's not going to land from Jiizuke. Goodbye to the last inhibitor turret. Bang can only wave clear. All inhibitors are gone as the Baron buff ticks down. Is there a fight to be had? Kumo going to find a knockup. There's a quick stun to come down as well, but there's no ultis to fight for EG, and the gold difference is massive. The inhibitor difference big as well as one turret falls down. The second one under fire. They got to fall back to clear that one away, and looks like FlyQuest are content to keep pushing. 8 seconds till Svenskeren comes back up, and that means, hey, don't take the 5v4, don't take the outnumbered fight. Let's finally take the reset. Let's finally buy the items we can afford and come back for round 2.
How about that for a Baron? They got all 3 inhibs, a Nexus turret, full control here, enormously ahead as far as the gold goes, and they have so much gold to buy now. They can go back, pick up as many items as possible, be ready for that last chance that EG may have, and it's a tiny, tiny, tiny chance at that. It is that Elder Dragon where they could look to fight, but going to be 6 supers spawning per wave, 2 in each lane.
Yep.
FlyQuest can grab this Elder Dragon if they really want to secure it, because that's really the only chance that EG would have, would be to immediately deny this.
The small bit of recompense is that it's all these minions flooding in is farm that FlyQuest can't really get, but EG will. So the gold lead will typically shrink a little bit, and the XP lead will shrink a little bit over time. Of course, it's almost insurmountable. Don't get me wrong. It's not like EG are about to make the comeback here, but if it really goes sour, at least they're unironically scaling. But he's not scaling anymore. That is the flash and an ulti gone, and there we go. That's the push they wanted. There's the knockups. There's 3 kills instantly. No chance EG win this fight. Kumo's going to lose the Guardian Angel, and he'll lose his life right after. FlyQuest are absolutely going to claim this victory. The TSM, there he comes up for IgNar saying goodbye, Svenskeren. We denied not only them playoffs any further, we denied Svenskeren playoffs on TSM at Worlds a few years back. There's the ace coming down, the Bud Light ace, a 35-minute win. FlyQuest continue to slaughter evil geniuses.
The emphatic finish there from FlyQuest, just stomping them down. And the BM emotes continue here from IgNar. It was Misfits in game 1 from him in PowerOfEvil. Now flashing the TSM emote there against Svenskeren. But
I love
EG, really with no one to blame but themselves, I feel like, for these first 2 games. I do think that there was less options as far as they had in this game too, because they didn't really have any strong engage, but they are just mis-executing on fights. They're not on the same page. They're over diving here in the mid lane with, you know, their bottom lane is a full screen ahead of the jungler and the mid laner when they could just be setting up for the dragon. The whole point of these types of compositions that they drafted in game 2 is to stack neutral objectives, is to get it to a point where your opponents have no choice but to come fight you for soul, for Baron, for ways for them to close the game. And when you're throwing that away, chasing a kill instead of securing neutral objectives, you're throwing away your win condition in the game. And EG, it feels like, has kind of done that 2 games in a row, and FlyQuest look like they're going to cruise to an easy sweep.
Well, we might see FlyQuest in the finals. It's now triple match point. It's got to be a reverse sweep if EG want to stay alive in the spring playoffs. Now, we are stepping away, but on the other side, the State Farm analyst desk will give their thoughts on FlyQuest's 2-0 start to the series.
Hercules, I have been expecting?
You.
Aha! And I brought you a gift so you can fight properly. Red Bull.
Oh!
How nice.
Of you.
But also
Rather.
stupid.
Mine.
Mine.
No, mine.
No, mine.
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 Red Bull gives you wings.
Yeah, I'm married. Does it matter? You do that for me? Really? Yeah, I'd like that.
Who are you talking to?
It's Jake from State Farm. Sounds like a really good deal.
Jake from State Farm at 3 in the morning? Who is this?
It's Jake from State Farm.
What are you wearing, Jake from State Farm?
Khakis? Hey, do they ever ask you what you're wearing?
Yeah.
Red sweater, button-down shirt. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Welcome back to the LCS Spring Championship qualifier between FlyQuest and Evil Geniuses. Gentlemen, we find ourselves in a position I don't think many expected to be in. 2-0 stands the score for FlyQuest. We're looking at a possible FlyQuest sweep here.
That's not what any of us predicted. Even us FlyQuest believers did not predict that.
No, this series has looked so different than the first time around when these two teams met. And probably I'm going to come back to you because I challenged you before the game to talk a little bit about execution, assuming that picks looked relatively similar to game one. But in fact, it was a different look out of Evil Geniuses in terms of those picks. Let's talk about the priority that they had here in this second pick ban.
I mean, I just want to throw this up there one more time. On the right side, that is Artemis kinging the draft against Coach Curry. So
right now,
that is not what's happening in your
swap
eyes.
those heads right now, and that's what's happening. Because
swap the
we're
crowns.
seeing, swap the crowns.
Yeah.
That's good too. Because we're in a really weird area where like IgNar has been such an important part for FlyQuest, and he's allowed to have Rakan, which is pretty surprising considering like we saw what it did to like TSM as well. And then even the first time EG played against FlyQuest, this was one of their bans as well. So it's very strange that something like Rakan is left open and they're not willing to first pick it. They decided to first pick the Kalista, which again, looking at FlyQuest historically, FlyQuest usually bans this or doesn't play this. So this is not a first pick champion. And
I mean, so
oh yeah, go ahead.
Get in there, Jack.
Okay, I'm okay with the Kalista Taric because I think that's just an immensely powerful duo, and it was the one strong point of EG for the last game. What I'm not okay with is, I think the whole point in game 1 was Kalista Zillion, and it got denied, so they defaulted to Grave Zillion, and now the Kindred's up, and they pick Zoe! Like, if they practiced Zillion, and they actually want to do a Kindred jungle, just play Kindred Zillion. If you haven't played good 80 junglers, like, don't make these discordant picks. Put Kindred with something who can create more follow-up. In this Zoe comp, there's nothing else to chain with. Like, there is a lot of individual pieces, nothing fits together, and then obviously draft is not the entire story. FlyQuest is just playing really damn solid, but the starting point for EG is
Mark, I'm going to come to you in just a moment, but we do have to toss our ESPN audience to a quick commercial break. We'll see you back here on the other side. I want to continue this conversation, Mark, because the way that Jat is actually explaining it, it feels like EG's just shooting themselves in their own foot. It makes it feel less as though FlyQuest is out-drafting them, and EG's out-drafting themselves.
I mean, there's always a little bit of column A, column B in the draft when things start going against you, and I definitely agree that there's a lot of mistakes. Probably and I were talking about the merits of the Kalista first pick when we were talking about it. I was actually initially kind of almost like, actually, I think this makes a little bit of sense because I would have expected EG, because a lot of draft is also trying to predict what's going to happen, and so I was like, the Kalista Taric was really strong in game 1. They would try and break it up in game 2 if you gave them the opportunity to, so they just took the Kalista first. That gives the Ornn over. Clearly that didn't work. Clearly I'm wrong, and Prawley's right, and this is probably also EG being wrong. And I think this is why drafting in best of 5s is so important. You have to balance what you think is going to happen with what you know has already happened and all these things. And I think to that point, EG was trying to do something that I understood. It did not work out, and I think for me, despite how much we're talking about these other things, it comes back to Jiizuke and Svenskeren a little bit as well, where I haven't really liked their second phases that much of the draft. Their first phases I'm largely okay with and understand what they're doing. The second ones I'm like, where's Jiizuke's 1-3-1 options? Where are some of these matchups that he's been so good on all season long? Zoe, he's good at it, but it's not really the play style we associate with him.
Yeah, if that kind of favors PoE's playstyle, right? Like, he gets the counter pick in a control mage matchup. Like, I mean, it's not really a counter pick, I'll say, but it's a very comfortable matchup for PoE, and he's going to thrive in that compared to, like, Jiizuke. It might just do okay. So picking the blue side just makes me feel very unsettled because I just don't see what their thought process is. Because, yeah, it's less about what they practiced and what happened, like, in the previous series. It's like, what's happening in this series right now? It's like PoE's playing great with the counter pick. He's solid. And then IgNar's popping off in all these games. And then Svenskeren's getting kind of banned out in 4-5, and they're playing this Graves Kindred stuff. Like, Gragas was hard carrying them last week, or 2 weeks ago, sorry.
So whether it's pick dependent or not, Jat, there has to be continued focus here on the mid lane because PowerOfEvil has put up 2 very impressive performances, numbers-wise, back-to-back.
Yeah, so what I feel like is happening, and this was evident in this game as well, is Jiizuke, he has the same KD.
Well, the thing that makes me go,
it's consistent.
Oh God, is the kill participation at 100%.
Yeah,
it's because it's so
and because the team just got no kills. EG got basically shut out. So okay, Jiizuke the whole year, the whole split has been over pressing his lane. That's why he has so many ISO deaths, but also solo kills. What has happened is PoE and Santorin are really dialed in on this. So they're able to punish Jiizuke early in games, and then he's never getting going. So either Svenskeren needs to pick stronger dueling 2v2s and actually match when Jiizuke is pushing up, because if he doesn't do that, they lose mid control. And then beyond that issue, like if we're talking about why this series is so far in this direction of FlyQuest, there's also just a top gap going on, where Solo is winning both sides of Aatrox versus Ornn, and you're now taking a mid lane that is getting shut down by the jungler, a top lane that is getting shut down by the enemy top laner, and even if Bang is doing well on Kalista.
Welcoming back our ESPN audience, right in the middle of figuring out what EG might need to do here in Game 3. I'm going to head to my two former coaches, Prawley and Mark Z. I'm sticking you in the situation that EG is facing right now. What is the call? Be it a side selection, a champion select thing, be it in the game thing, because Jack just listed numerous issues with EG's play today, and I highly doubt you could fix them all. What are you trying to fix first?
Wait, are we both coaching EG right now?
Are we combining our brains?
Yes. Let's see if the collective brain power of your win conditions.
I vote red side.
Win
I was
conditions.
going to say red side.
Red side? All right, high five.
We're both going red side. Okay. And you want counter pick for Jiizuke, right?
Yeah, Jiizuke is getting my fifth pick. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think there's enough powerful top laners going around with the Ornn in the set, or excuse me, the Ornn and the Aatrox. I would expect both those to go through, and you've played both sides of this matchup anyway, so I don't think it affects top lane too much. And you're mostly looking at influencing the mid jungle 2v2 on red side.
Now, let me ask you this way. I know you both said you're looking for counter pick mid, but we've seen a number of mid lane bans get thrown out in that second phase. Is there any concern that that FlyQuest identifies maybe that strategy and throws out too many bans to eliminate Jiizuke's pool? Would you consider taking something for Jiizuke, not in a counter situation, but just early enough in the phase 1 even, so that he gets something he can utilize for playmaking?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like the nomenclature isn't correct the way we're using it right now. Like, I would say when IgNar got to play Blitz into Taric, like that's a counter pick, but not really. It's more like it's a IgNar power pick. So for Jiizuke to get a counter pick mid, I just want to pick that he's going to excel at. So even if the Echo isn't going to be good in that matchup, I know he can play that out well. If he can play the Rise in a matchup, he can play that out well, even if it's not like a straight counter. So that's my wordage for...
I would throw LeBlanc in there as well. She's just generically one of the best blind picks while still being able to have a ton of agency. So if you want to, reach for that to make sure you actually get your hands on it, that's fine too. But otherwise, I know Jiizuke has a pretty good and large champion pool full of 1-3-1 champions. I hope he can find one, and I don't think that they can target ban just him. So I would think even if we did save it for, I say we like I'm actually there. Even if you did save it for, even if you did save it for fit.
Hey, I was gonna say I put you in that position. We'll pretend like you're there. Backs against the wall for EG, but we've seen them pull out miracles in the past. We'll see if they can do it here. With everything though that is going on in the world today, there is still a constant need for blood donors to save lives. The LCS is partnering with the Blood Centers of America to encourage people to donate blood. With a simple internet search, you can still safely go to your local blood center to schedule an appointment to save lives for just an hour of your time. Give blood, save lives. Please, I beg of you all. Time for another break, but when we return, it's Game 3 of FlyQuest versus Evil Geniuses. We'll catch you here